Well, you know what they say. Every once in a while, a great player has an off game. Right? So Sony had a PlayStation conference just recently in which they finally cleared the air when it came to this PlayStation Neo that everybody was talking about. We got the leaked images of this thing, and now finally Sony came forward saying, yes, it's real and it's coming by the end of this year. And they confirmed that and then some. But I feel like some things need to be clarified because I shit you not, I'm pretty sure that when I go to Best Buy later on this fall, especially around Black Friday time, there's going to be that mom that's going to approach me and acknowledge that I'm not a Best Buy worker, but is still going to ask me a question about video games. Because that's actually happened to me before. A mom, and I can tell she was a mom, approached me and verbally said, I know you don't work here, but I have a question about the Xbox One. And I answered her truthfully. I tried to give her as much information as possible, and I am still baffled by why Best Buy doesn't want to hire me. So the thing that I think needs to be put into a lot of people's heads, especially adults that are looking to shop for their kids or whatever when it came to the PS4, whether it be for the price or for various other reasons, this is the one thing that I think might confuse those folks, is that Sony confirmed that we actually have two models of the PlayStation 4 coming out by the end of this year. One of them is actually going to be releasing in like 2 weeks or so, which is the PlayStation 4 Slim. The one over here that looks like an ice cream sandwich without the ice cream. This is the PlayStation 4 Slim, which is pretty much a slimmer, slightly smaller version of this little bad boy here that came out back in 2013. The only difference is that it's a little bit more rounded. As you can see, this one looks more like a prism, and that is actually going to be replacing this one in supplies and various merchants, Amazon, Best Buy, anything that sells a console. This is where you're going to start seeing up on the shelves, besides this little beauty right here. They're probably just going to sell these out until they run out, and at that point, there's no going back. So if you want this design, I suggest you go out and get it right now before this guy starts popping out into circulation. But what I do appreciate is that they acknowledge that it's been 3 years since the release of the PS4, and I think it's time for a price drop, and that's what they did with this PS4 Slim, which is basically the exact same thing on the inside. It's pretty much the same hardware. So they said, okay, since we got a new version of the PS4 coming out along with it, it's time to go ahead and cut off about $100. So the PS4 Slim is going to go for $300, and chances are we're going to get a bunch of other bundles where they're going to throw in a game or a controller, etc., etc. But then this bigger guy over here that looks like 3 pieces of burnt toast, that is the PS4 Neo that we have long heard about, that has now been redubbed the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is where all those fancy things that they were talking about, 4K HDR, which is this little piece of technology that's supposed to make colors and textures and all this stuff to how colors look like in real life. If you're somebody like me that does an awful lot of videos or is in the film industry, you'll notice that sometimes little things like color and contrast look just a tiny bit different on a monitor than they do in real life when you're just watching it from your perspective. The HDR technology combined with the 4K resolution is supposed to emit that kind of visual. So with the PlayStation 4 Pro, you're going to be able to play certain games in 4K. They got a list of games that are either already out or about to come out or going to come out probably by the end of next year that are going to be supported with the 4K and HDR technology. This, along with a bunch of other fancy stuff, is going to come in the PlayStation 4 Pro. But here, let's cut to the chase. I want you, let's go ahead and do a little bit of an experiment here. I want you to think of the 5 people that are closest to you, whether it be emotionally or just socially, whatever, that are not your immediate family, meaning people that you live with, essentially. The 5 closest people to you. Okay? You got them in your head? Good. So now what I want you to do is to think about how many of those 5 people have a 4K TV. You know what? I'm feeling kind of confident. Take the 10 people that are closest to you that are not your immediate family and think about how many of them have a 4K TV. Starting to get the picture here? And that was not a pun. Remember back when they thought that 3D TVs were going to be in everybody's living room? How many people do you know have a 3D TV? I'm not necessarily lambasting Sony for coming out with this press conference when they unveiled this, because it doesn't necessarily damage the PlayStation community so much, because we're not necessarily being forced to buy this. If we already got a PS4, then just stick with the PS4, because that's precisely what I'm doing. I see no significant investment in trying to get myself a PlayStation 4 Pro because I don't have a 4K TV. And to me, honestly, a 4K TV is not necessary to enjoy awesome games, because when it comes down to it, true gamers buy games to play the games. Sure, we will like some 720p or 1080p resolutions. Sure, 60 frames per second would be nice, but some games are meant to be in a cinematic way where the frame rate, as long as it's not super choppy to the point where it's like lagging and just atrocious, which if I'm not mistaken is going to happen with the PlayStation 4 Pro, because apparently if you don't get the proper support for your 4K TV and all that, some games are locked down to 15 frames per second. You might as well go for the PS4 Slim if you have not already purchased a PS4, because to me that's the only good thing that came out of this press conference. The only much more positive thing rather than negative is that they offered a price cut on the original PS4 hardware, even if it does look a little bit different than it originally came out back in 2013. This is not necessarily bad, it's just very unnecessary. I'm not ignoring the fact that the 4K technology exists, and sure, I do enjoy seeing some of those sample video clips or whatever that it is that they're playing in circulation at Best Buy whenever I do pass the 4K TV and gaze at how amazing the picture is, but it's completely out of my budget. Not even at this point am I confident that I will even settle for the PlayStation VR, another component that Sony has coming up soon, coming up in October even. And Sony didn't necessarily do themselves a service when they showed the brand new gameplay to kind of showcase the 4K technology, because again, some clips were released online that they said, oh, you need to go to a 4K TV to watch this. To where? And not to be a negative Nancy, but some of that gameplay footage for some of those games wasn't even that great. Mass Effect Andromeda, dude walking a little bit, jumping, and to me it looks like Mass Effect The Next Generation. They literally showed like 30 seconds of new footage for Spider-Man, and the only one that really appealed to me a little bit, and it didn't really look that different than the original gameplay footage that I've seen before, was Horizon Zero Dawn. And you want to know why? Because I'm watching it on my fucking laptop that's not 4K. And that's the problem, is that they're appealing to a market that is not necessarily there just yet. Maybe if you were to make the technology a little bit cheaper, then maybe we might be there. So for now, Sony, I think you need to stick with what is a bit more important, and that is the games. And the only little gateway to developing a new frontier for video games would probably be the PlayStation VR. Sure, the price is still a little bit of a thing that kind of keeps me from fully being invested and being on board with the idea of the PSVR, but you might have something going there. Let's go ahead and focus all the attention to that now that you got this out of the way. And for all of you consumers that are looking to buy PlayStation 4, if you didn't already buy it, then like I said, I think the best course to take would be to go with the PlayStation 4 Slim. You're saving up $100, it's the exact same hardware, and if you don't have 4K technology at your home, then there really isn't that much of a reason to bother with the toaster on steroids. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of Sony's conference. Was it the right move, the wrong move, or just in the middle? Please like this video, share it, and subscribe if you're a newcomer, and I thank you guys for watching. Take care.